Happy Monday. We started a new series at Christ Church this past weekend where we're looking at the question of some key characteristics of who God is and ways that those characteristics roll down to his image bearers in the work that we do specifically. So applying it to see the ways that we work are following the work of God and highlighting characteristics of who God is. So in these next several days in Devotionals, we're going to be thinking a little bit more about that. And specifically want to be thinking about ways in which the work that we do accomplishes the two main tasks that God has given to his people, and that is loving God himself with all heart, mind, and strength, and then also loving our neighbor as ourselves. So I want you to think this morning for just a little bit about that question, is what does it actually look like to love God in and through the work that you do? God has called us to work. He's given you gifts and talents. He has placed you in a time and a season of life to work on his behalf and to work for him. And it is actually one of the ways in which you can directly obey the command to love God with all our heart and strength. So one of the easiest ways to do this is one of the easiest ways to approach this is simply asking the question, and that is, in the work that I am doing, and again, I qualified this Sunday, I want to do it again. When we say work, we mean all the contributions that you're making, not necessarily what you're paid to do. Certainly what you're paid if you're in an employment situation right now, but if you're unemployed, if you're retired, if you're working at home, if you're taking care of aging parents or taking care of young kids, whatever it is that you're doing to contribute in that specific situation, how are you loving God in the middle of that? So asking the question is actually a great starting point. Some of it is a place of motivation. So today I want you to consider that. It's who you're working for. In Colossians chapter 3, Paul's writing a letter to this church, and he's giving some specific details. He's talking about the new life they have in Christ, and then he says this. He's talking in a context to the bondservants of the day or to the slaves of the day who may be indebted to someone and they're trying to work out. So it's a difficult situation. And he says, whatever you do, in word or in deed, work as if you are serving the Lord, not serving humans. And so he's encouraging them in the middle of that, in Colossians chapter 3 there at the end, to work with all their heart and to allow their motivation to be clear that they are working for God and recognizing that the work they do, that God sees it and that he is going to reward it. And again, this is not a context where the Department of Labor or Health and Safety are doing this. So this is a difficult situation, which Paul is saying in the middle of that, I want you to work, and I want you to work with a motivation to love God with the work that you're doing. So today, that's the challenge. It's just as you think about the tasks you have before you, what duties do you have today? What responsibilities do you have? And how can you make sure that as you enter into those, first you're asking the question, how is it that I'm going to love God with what I'm doing today? Just by recognizing it, just by asking the question is a great starting point. So I encourage you to think about the reality that God is the first worker, and you're imitating him and following him in the work that you're doing today, and you can do that for him. That may change what it is you focus on or which direction you go, but the basic tasks that you have this Monday in your life are ways that you can love God with all your heart today. I encourage you to do so. There's work to be done.